Yo, we just people from the north side. Once the Timmy's hit the shore fine. Winter ready on the bow ties. Heavy traffic during 4-5. Gotta hustle on your own time. Color people every port side. We just people from the north side.
Hey guys, what's going on? It's your host, your boy, George Mackay, back here again, Straight Talk Wrestling, for another amazing interview. I've surpassed 400. We're on our way to 500 interviews now. It's been pretty crazy 10 years, and it's always exciting because every year you get to bring somebody new, somebody up and coming, and I got a good one. I got somebody who I actually saw at NCG tear the house down in arguably match of the night with Tessa Blanchard. We'll get to that a little bit later in the conversation, but for now, please help me welcome Chantal to Straight Talk Wrestling. How are you?
I'm so good. How are you?
I'm great. I mean, I'm gonna chop it up with like we were talking beforehand. It's awesome
Yeah.
to be able to get these up and coming talents such as yourself now, so that when you blow up, I could say I knew her when. I knew her when she was just, starting this journey, which is
Yeah.
pretty wild. And that actually leads to my first question: is what made you want to get into professional wrestling? Like, I mean, it's not for everybody. You really have to be a different type of person. So what was it that about professional wrestling that you were like, I got to get me some of this. I got to get in on this action.
Um, Growing up, I watched wrestling with my older brother, my dad, and even going to my grandparents. Like my cousin, she was in the kitchen with my grandma learning how to make little cookies, and I would just be in the living room watching VHS of wrestling. So I always loved watching wrestling, but then you kind of grow up, you're a teenager, you do teenager things. Like I wasn't really watching it. And then I was in my mid 20s, and I saw my first show for the first time because where I'm from, there was no independent wrestling shows at all. So I was probably like 26 whenever I saw my first show, and I was like, I need to try this. I need to.
I love that. It really it's so amazing how pro wrestling can transcend age groups. You could be 5 years old, or you could be like me and you in your 20s. Oh, me in my 40s. Oh, I hate saying that. I feel so old, I tell you. But me in my 40s, and then there's people even in their 50s and 60s, and someone like my father, for example, who's in his 70s and still enjoys the occasional pro wrestling match. And it's interesting. You actually mentioned that from where you're from, there's not a lot. So I will say that being from New Brunswick, what was one of the biggest challenges to overcome into getting professional wrestling? Like you said, shows were few and far between. But then how do you get into training when there's no shows, no companies? Who is training you out in New Brunswick? So what did you have to do?
So okay, so when I first saw my live show, and I saw this young girl, Madison Miles. At that time, she was 16, and she was pretty much the only female in the Maritimes. So I got in contact with her, and I really wanted to get trained. But at the time, I think that was the most challenging, is that there was no active schools at all in the Maritimes. So I'm from Bathurst, New Brunswick, which is 45 minutes away from the bridge where the province of Quebec is. So to get to Quebec, it's like about 5 hours. So instead of just being like, oh, there's no schools, damn, I guess I won't do it. No, I looked it up, and I found NSPW in Quebec. And at that time, that was challenging because I was working in a care home, so 12-hour shifts, night shifts, and I had arranged for training days there on Tuesdays and Wednesdays. That was like my days off. So I would get off a night shift, get in my car, drive 5 hours, go to training. So I did that for probably 2 months, and then finally they opened a school down here. And down here I was trained by Brody Steele.
Ah, okay. I like that. It's pretty cool that it's 5 hours to Quebec because from where I'm from in Ontario, it's 6 hours to Quebec. So I can get it's the same distance, just the opposite way, which is pretty cool. So Quebec is essentially in between us. And I mean, I love the province of Quebec. I love the food. I love the people. I hate the hockey team, but that's because I'm a Maple Leafs fan. If there's any Habs fans watching, I don't give a shit. The Maple Leafs are better. That's it. I don't care. We don't have to win a Stanley Cup, okay? I don't. I'm not big enough of a fan of that. We just have to beat the Habs. That's it. Small victories. It's small victories. So all you Habs fans out there, yeah, Tabernacle. Okay, that's it. That's
I
it.
said what I said.
I'm not taking it back. I'm gonna get heat for that, but I don't care. I'm not taking it back.
Yeah.
in training in Quebec, I guess this actually ties in because I had to revamp the second question, but now I can kind of go back. Training in Quebec for a little bit and it having that rich heritage of professional wrestling, when you think of all the people that have come out of the province of Quebec, it is ridiculous the amount of talent. And now you're training over there. Did you feel any pressure because you're training there? Did you feel pressure to kind of perform based on where you were?
At the time, I was so new, like obviously loving wrestling. Sometimes it's not enough to understand the business itself. So I was so new that I didn't know that there was a big difference between wrestling in the Maritimes and then wrestling in Quebec. Obviously, Quebec, it's a bit easier for the talents to cross the border or like to get noticed. But I feel like in the Maritimes, I feel like people forget about us sometimes. So it's like, it was great because I made some really, really good contacts and connections down there. But it's harder just being in the Maritimes because on my Instagram, I have a lot of posts where I tag that I'm in La Salle or I'm in Ontario and Leamington. So some promoters automatically think that I'm in Ontario, and then when I'm like, oh yeah, I fly from New Brunswick, they're like, oh, I didn't realize you were from New Brunswick. And sometimes it can be like, it's quite far.
Yeah, absolutely. It's that awkward moment now. It's like, I really want her on the show, but New
Yeah,
Brunswick
yeah.
it's not an easy commute. It's
Yeah,
difficult.
exactly.
It's challenging.
Exactly.
So,
Yes.
I mean, we're talking about Leamington, NCG. It's an up and coming promotion here in Ontario. It literally took the Ontario indie scene by storm in
Yeah.
2024. Shout out to Michael Joseph, the owner and promoter
Yeah.
over there. He is fantastic. He's got a great crop of people. From the setup is incredible. The stage crew, the cameramen, the backstage people. Lewis Carlin, a good friend of mine. Shout out to him. He's
Yes.
fantastic. He's fantastic. Like the whole
Absolutely.
team. So you're there. You get booked. It's like, hey, listen, we're gonna book you. Want you to come out. And then they say, oh, hey, by the way, you're gonna take on Tessa Blanchard. And you're like,
Yeah.
oh, I mean,
Damn.
I would be like, damn, all right, I'm taking on like
Yes.
legacy. I'm taking on like, shrouded in a little bit of drama and controversy a few years ago, but has kind of worked her way back into the fold now, just again with TNA, which is incredible to see. I mean, that's the great thing
Oh,
about pro wrestling. I believe everyone deserves a second chance in certain
absolutely.
aspects.
100%. Yes.
In certain aspects, there are some people that have been removed from pro wrestling that should stay removed, and I'm just going to leave it
Yes.
at that, 100%.
Yes.
But working with Tessa Blanchard, you know the history, you know the legacy, the first female world heavyweight champion in TNA/Impact Wrestling history. This is for the vacant NCG Women's Championship. This is for all the marbles. This is a big deal. You get thrown in. Talk to me about all of that whole experience from the jump, from getting booked to the match to going back there, sitting down in the locker room and being like, holy crap, man, I just tore the house
Yeah.
down with Tessa Blanchard.
Yes. So it was an eye opener and a learning experience all at once. Like to be in the ring with someone incredibly talented like Tessa she's just so good. You know what I mean? Like she's just so good. Like uh, everything that she does in her match, like it makes sense. It's just so it was really a learning experience for me because it was so different. I'm not saying that other people that I wrestle with, I work with, are not. It wasn't a learning experience with other people, but with her, it was like on a different level. She went and she got trained in Mexico, and like that's a different style. So there's so much that she can do, so many things that you don't see much down here. So it was really, really it was really amazing to be in the ring with her. It was a learning experience, and her passion and her determination just really, really shows in the ring. And I'm really, really grateful to have shared the ring with her. So I'm yes, it lit a fire in me, honestly. Like I just decided to like, hey, if I'm going to see where this career takes me, I need to put in the extra work right now. I'm not saying that I'm old, but I just turned 35, so it's like, don't like, let's stop moving slow. Let's start, go, go, go. And if it doesn't happen within a few years, then okay, at least you tried as much as you could.
Absolutely. And you know what? You're right when you say learning curve. I mean, I go back and I look at that match. I remember being in the crowd that night, looking at that match and just watching the fluidity, watching the strikes. And you two did not hold back. She hit hard. You hit hard. Did you wake up the next morning with some bruises? You must have had some bruises. You must have.
Oh, definitely, definitely. But that's what it is. We signed up for this. Like that's what we do. So it was all good. It was a learning experience, and I'm very, very grateful for the match. Super, like it was sportsmanship on her side, because after she pinned me, she got the title. She went over and she thanked me for the match. So that was such a like such a respect thing, and I really, really admire her for that.
Absolutely. Yeah, you gotta love the sportsmanship aspect of it, right? And that's a lot of times people don't hear. People just see the finished product, but they don't see the work that went into building the story, the work that goes into selling the story, the work that
Yeah.
is so focused. And you know what? Being trained from Quebec, it's a side note question from. I mean, it's hard to pinpoint where all the questions are going to come from because you gotta go with the flow. But
Yes, absolutely.
training in Quebec, so much so many of the names over there knew how to tell stories, know how to build stories, know how to sell.
Mhm.
And I look at the history of the women over there, everyone that's up and coming, phenomenal. So,
Yes.
what, I guess, what was the biggest takeaway from that Tessa Blanchard match in terms of building the story with her, but also selling the story to that crowd so everyone was left on the edge of the seats like they were?
I- it's like you said, it's all about that storytelling, and as long as you do it properly and you get the crowd so invested that the emotions are like skyrocketing, and it's all about how good you work together with your opponent. And she was a breeze to work with. She was so amazing to work with, and she could, she could sense at first that I was like, okay, like, this is a big match. So I was kind of like, I I wanted to do good. I wanted to be the best version of myself at that time as well. And afterwards she said, like, I see that you doubted yourself, but don't, you shouldn't do that, because you're going places. You just have to like take it all in and just be in the moment. And I really, really appreciated that. So it was really awesome to share the ring with her and have that experience, and showing that to the fans and having them so invested. That was great. That was amazing.
It absolutely was. I mean, like I said, I was in the crowd that night. That was hands down my favorite match. That, and of course, watching your other half just annihilate everybody. I mean, I don't know if anybody knows this. Giant Orion, he is a big, big boy. They don't call him Giant for a
Yes,
reason. He's not like 4 foot
yes,
two. Okay, this guy
yeah.
scours. Nicest guy in the world when he's not in the wrestling ring, but when he's in the wrestling ring, I would get out of the wrestling ring if you're in there with him. That's what I would do. But I guess that leads to my next question. What has been the biggest challenge for you thus far in your career in terms of balancing pro wrestling, but also balancing life?
I think it was harder before when I was by myself, juggling, like working full time, trying to make wrestling work like as many weekends as we can, because you want to be, go, go, go. And at that time, that was about 2 years ago. That was when it was really, really hard. But I've always had a passion to rescue dogs, so I had gone into that. So I was also a volunteer, and every month there was a transport of dogs from the south, like Texas, like from the euthanasia list, that would get adopted from people in the Maritimes. And I was a foster, and it wasn't uncommon every single month for at least one like family that adopted, or two that would back out.
Mm.
So there was some times that I had 5, 6 dogs, and it was fostering them, and it was like go to work super close to my place, come home on my breaks, like take them for a walk, and try to find like someone to dog sit when I was going away for wrestling. But I think that was on me, because if it would have been just work and wrestling, it would have been too bad. But then I had that on my plate, so it was really, really hard. But now it's way easier. Giant Orion, like we both share the same goals, we both share the same passion, and we're both determined, and we can like lift each other up and like doing that and reaching our goals together. So it's way easier when your partner shares the same passion.
I love that. Yeah, you got to have that. You got to have that strong support system. And even if they don't share the
Mhm.
same goal as in wanting to be a wrestler, as long as you have that passion of the person wanting to watch you succeed, that's
Yes,
that's huge. And it's the same thing with me.
absolutely.
Like, I mean, I don't ever want to step foot in the ring. I love watching it. I love talking about it. I love speaking to people about it, but I'm not stepping foot in the ring. I know my limits. But my wife, she supports all this stuff. Like right now, I just came home from work, chowed down on a little bit of food, grabbed a cup of coffee, came right downstairs, and here we are. So this is just the grind that is. I mean,
Yes.
what's sleep? You don't need sleep. That's why they
Yeah.
invented energy
Right?
drinks and coffee. Who needs sleep?
Exactly.
I'm telling
Exactly. There's
you.
no
So
time to sleep.
absolutely. You know when you'll sleep? You'll sleep when it's all over. When it's
Yeah,
all over and it's
exactly.
all said and done and your ticket gets punched, that's why they call it the eternal sleep because you catch up
Yeah,
on all the stuff you're missing. Absolutely.
that's it.
So, do you feel that you have found your character in pro wrestling? Like in terms of your character development from where you started to where you are now, is this the strongest version of your character?
Now it is yes. Before, I would say like a few weeks back, I was just Chantal. I was always myself, but with the volume turned a little bit more. But then I was just, I just wanted to have something that was more than just simply my name,
Mhm.
but it needed to be something that it was natural, like so growing up, I've always listened to punk music, and I still do. I have that little like internal punk in me, and I put a lot of thought into it, and that's just who I am as a person. Is like I'm very sarcastic. I like to play pranks and all that. So I am after consistent training and tweaking a few things like my finisher and just changing things. Now I feel like I found it, and I am now the Vandal, Chantal.
I like that. I like that. And that actually was a kind of a segue into my next question because I wanted to know what Chantel represented, and you just kind of answered it because you got that punk side to you, you got that vandal. You're 35, you're not 107, you're still young, you still want to cause
Yeah,
trouble, you still want to do all these things. So
exactly.
the Vandal Chantel is I think the perfect moniker. And the great thing about that is that character can kind of weave in and out both ways. It's very chameleon like because you could go into a promotion, you could cause some ruckus, raise some shit, or you could
Mhm.
go into the promotion being anti establishment. You could be like, no, no, I don't conform to what you want. I conform to
Yes,
who I am. So
yes,
is that who you
100%.
are? Is that who you are as an everyday person? Are you someone that walks by the beat of your own drum? Or do you conform when you have to?
Like for sure, I'll confirm when I have to. When like obviously, like when it comes to work, full time work, like things that are serious. That's why, like, I have my ring jacket, like it's a leather jacket with like spray paint and studs, but it's just not something that I would wear on an everyday. You know what I mean? But
Why
like
not? You wouldn't
I,
wear that on a
yeah,
Wednesday going grocery shopping? Come on.
yeah, right. So like obviously I fell in love when I saw it, so I bought it. But it's to be able to just like okay, let's start wearing it with my gear. And it's that's what makes it exciting now that I finally found my moniker and like crank the volume way up now.
Nice. I can picture you in that leather jacket and Giant Orion in his singlet, and you're going into your local Starbucks or your local Tim Hortons, and you're like, yeah, man, I'll take a large double double. And he's like, give me all the donuts.
Yeah, the cake pops.
Yeah, just give me everything. You got any of those off-white egg bites? I'll take them all. Oh, so good. No, but he's such a gem, and I hope he watches this and he's like, "Hey, are they making fun of me? I'm gonna next time I see this guy, I'm gonna kick his ass. I'm gonna beat the crap out of this guy." That's what he's gonna say. She started it, Orion. It's all her fault. She's laughing too. That means some way it's all her fault. Okay, that's it. I don't want to get any heat with Orion. Okay, like I said, he's double my size. He's a scary, scary dude. Scary dude. Now, being 35, like you said, the time is still on your side, but I mean, the clock, as it always is, time is unforgiving. Tomorrow is
Yes,
not today. Today is no longer tomorrow. So,
right.
what are some things you personally want to achieve in pro wrestling, whatever it may be, whether it's having a match on TNA, having worked extra work in WWE, whatever is something that you want to achieve that you believe is tangible for you in your career?
So I try not to set the bar too high. I just want to keep it at a certain level. And then if I do get there, then of course I'll set it higher. But I definitely want to get better, want to get stronger. Some training in Mexico and Japan is definitely in the near future. That is like two different styles of wrestling that helps you grow as a wrestler immensely, So that's definitely something that I want to do, just to like stand out, to have that extra knowledge, to be more quick, like, in the ring. So that's definitely something that is in the near future.
I like that. I think those are very, like you said, reasonable, tangible
Yeah.
goals. And I think you would flourish in Mexico, and I think you'd flourish in Japan. I've interviewed a lot of people from Japan. I've interviewed a lot of people from that have gone over there and had that experience. It really does level you up, and it does definitely
Mhm.
change the game. And if you can add those styles to your arsenal, like you said, when you get into
Yes.
ring with somebody of the caliber of a Tessa Blanchard, oh, you know Mexican, you know lucha libre? So do I. Oh, you know,
Perfect. Yes.
you know British strong style? Oh, so do I. Cool. You know Japanese? Oh, you trained at the New Japan Dojo? So did I. We're about to tear it down.
Right.
We're gonna run
Right.
this.
So you
Now,
both bring something that might not be on the rest of the card. So it's different, and it's, it just keeps the entertainment momentum going.
I love that. I love it. See, you're wise beyond your years, my dear. Wise beyond your years. Now, I do have to ask this because I think this is an intriguing question. Have you ever thought about full-time relocation to Ontario, to Quebec, to kind of make those bookings a little bit more easier for you?
Yes, I have very much. So we obviously, having a partner that is also a wrestler, you have those conversations. And for him, he really has that goal for TNA. So if there was, a close chance, then we would definitely relocate. And for myself as well, like I'd like to set that bar there. But I would rather start with the training in New Japan, in Japan and Mexico, just to like step up my game and be more than ready if that happens to me as well.
I like that. I like that. Again, very tangible, very reasonable.
Mhm.
You're not giving me the curveball answers. You're surprising me with the sincere answers, and I love it. I love the sincerity. I do, absolutely do. Now, two more questions, and I'm gonna let you go enjoy the rest of your evening. Um, in terms of when you see a fan in the audience that is drawn to you, or a fan that is, I saw a lot of the kids were very drawn to you at a couple of the NCG shows. They love the look, they love the style, they love the fact that you can, I guess, to them, for that one night or for that one moment in time, be a superhero to them. What's that mean for you when you have a young fan, boy or girl, doesn't matter, come up to you and say, "You were my favorite tonight"?
It's I absolutely love kids because I am, and still to this day I am a dance teacher, so I teach a lot of kids. So I think it's just such a nice feeling to have kids look up to you and just look at you, just like they when they watch Marvel, and or when they watch like a superhero movie, and they just get so invested. And it's such a nice feeling because you're doing something good. Excuse me, you're creating that memory. Like I remember I was on a show, and at the merch table, one of the guys were just as Spider-Man. And the little boy literally thought it was the real Spider-Man. He's like, "I've seen all your movies." And he was so like mesmerized. Like he was so amazed. So it was, yeah, it's just such a nice feeling to see them and how they're like in awe, and like, it's because kids still thinks it's real. So that's why it makes it so much special, because they look at it, and that they're in their mind, and they believe, and they're in the moment. So it's really nice to see.
Absolutely, absolutely. Now, my final question, but before I ask my final question, I want to let you know now you are officially a member of the Straight Talk family. Okay. Anytime you want to come back on the
Cool.
show, you are more than welcome to. I'd love to have you back on the show. And now, my final question. It's a fun question. It's a joke question. You've traveled the road. You've stopped at some out of the way places for food. What is by far one of the things that you've eaten that you were like, I don't know if that's going to be good, and then you ate it and you were like, this has changed my life. I love this.
Oh, that's super hard because I'm a fussy eater. I don't even eat vegetables, if I'm being honest. Like I'm so fussy. So I can't really remember if I've like ever tried anything on the road that I was like, oh wow, I'm surprised because I don't try things. If I've never tried it, I won't like go out of my way to buy it. But like if it's something that like, like it's at home or like my parents and my meat for supper and they have it, of course, but I don't try many things. I'm such a fussy eater, so I can't. Yeah, that's very hard for me because I don't. Yeah,
I
I
get
don't
it.
dare. I
I
don't
get it.
dare try new things.
I get it. You stay safe. You're like Dominic Mysterio. You're chicken nuggets all the way, right? Is that what it
There
is?
you go. That's it. Chicken nuggets,
Well,
kids meal.
listen. I'm not gonna lie. Okay, I still myself sometimes if I'm coming home from a show when I'm doing commentary or doing something like that, and it's late at night, I'll turn into a McDonald's. I will grab myself a cheeseburger Happy Meal, okay? I will. And you know what? I keep the toy for myself. I have two kids, but I don't give them the toy. I keep the toy for myself, okay? I do.
Yeah.
If it's like a cool toy, like a superhero toy, yeah, I keep it. I got a whole bunch. They're all floating around. They're all floating around.
Oh yeah.
They're all floating. I don't care. I don't care. I will keep the toy for myself. If it's like a book or
Christmas
an
mac and
educational
meal.
toy, yeah, I'll give it to my kids. Oh, look, I got this in the Happy Meal. It's a book. But if it's cool, hey, Dad, did you get a Happy Meal toy? No, I didn't. I threw it out by accident. Sorry. And it's down here. Yeah, 100%. All right, so let's ask that. What's your go-to at McDonald's? You're coming home late at night. What's the go-to at McDonald's? What do you got at McDonald's? Are you just a Happy Meal girl?
I am, but if I want to like go a little extra, I'll go with bacon cheeseburger.
Solid choice. You know what's good too?
Yeah.
I don't know if you're a big fan of the Big Macs. I like the Big Macs, but they're a lot. They're very big, of course. But I always get the McDouble dressed like a Mac. So it's like a mini Mac. It's like a small Mac. It's good. It's good. I mean, you regret it a couple hours later, as you do most times when you eat McDonald's, but in the moment,
We're all guilty of going to McDonald's a little bit more than we want, and then we feel like absolute crap after we do because
but
we're
it's
like,
so worth
oh,
it.
why did I do this to
But
myself again?
it's so worth it. I say that and then I'll wake up the next morning and be like, man, I could go for a coffee and a McDonald's breakfast sandwich right now too. I could do
Yeah.
it. I could do it. I really could. I really could. Chantal, this has been an amazing conversation. Thank you so much for giving me the time. I appreciate it. And before I let you go, please, any shows you have upcoming, this is going to drop probably sometime mid-February. So any shows you
Okay.
got coming up and also shout out your socials so everyone can keep up on the journey that is Chantal.
Yes. So upcoming shows, if it's before mid-February, it won't air. But upcoming shows, most important one so far, I have NCG on February 22nd, facing Ray Larson. Not for the women's title, but that's okay. We'll keep trying.
We'll get there.
PW Chantal on Instagram, and that's that.
That's that.
it.
Guys, follow her. Keep up on the journey. Like I said, she's awesome. And also, give the better half. So I should say better half. Give the other half a little shine. Giant Orion. Okay, I busted his chops a little bit in this episode, but he's a great dude. Like I said, he's ridiculously huge. So the moniker Giant Orion, it fits. Trust me, it fits very, very well. Very well. All right, guys, that's it for this one. Peace, love, and wrestling. We'll see you next week. Peace.